Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brad, Supercoach Pro. Today's video, we're doing a round 8 Supercoach team review. Now, we went big this week. We actually scored 2-5-2-2, and for the round, we actually ranked 784 for the actual round. That's actually insane. And we've made a huge comeback, guys. Honestly, like, to be 13,000 right now, considering after round 1 I was 100,000, it's just an incredible comeback. A few weeks ago, it was 50,000. I've just been climbing up the whole way through, so it's been a good progression. I don't think I've gone down, maybe 1 week, but it's been really solid. I've just traded my way out of bad situations. I've been super aggressive, so I don't got a lot of trades. My team value is almost 13 mil though, so I feel like that's pretty high compared to a lot. And we'll get stuck in the side. And starting in the back line, as per always, and then we'll go through some trades, maybe some VC options and stuff like that as well. So the Friday night game I actually didn't end up watching, so I do apologise for that. And I watched a couple of Saturday games, actually most of them, and then I watched some Sunday games yesterday. So Daicos 81, I think he had like sort of a tag roll, Clark was doing a roll on him, I heard, and they've just been, sort of tagging Daicos the last couple of weeks now, so it's a little bit concerning. Scares me off VCing or seeing him now at the moment until I see him shake a tag. Although 81's still pretty good for a second-year player anyway. I wish I actually had started it with him over some other defenders down there. Stewart 99. A little bit annoyed he didn't go sort of 110 mark against Adelaide. He did turn it over first quarter fair bit, so 99 is pretty solid from Stewart. And I think he'll float around this price. I wouldn't be paying up for a player like Stewart because he's bound to have a down game at some point. Now, this is crazy. They were talking about Zeeble not even playing because he's potentially injured, and then he comes out with 179. And he's only 451k, averaging 111. Like, I feel like he's a must get in your back line or forward line. Doesn't matter. Maybe your back line because DPP changes. And then Sheasel as well, 110. Like, if you got rid of him a couple of weeks ago, you'd be kicking yourself because he's now 452k. I'd be surprised if he's not owned by more than 70%. It would be just stupidly insane. He's owned by 77%, so that makes sense. Zeeble, not sure if he's a pod anymore. He's owned by 27% of the side, so yeah, he's in quite a fair few. And I feel like a lot of Stewart owners don't have Dawson, so what's he on? He's in 19%. So a lot of people probably VC him on the Friday night. That's what probably I'm going to do against Richmond. We're probably just going to kick it high and he'll just intercept all day. Anyway, I got a bit sidetracked. Stocker went 103, absolute pod. He's only in 5% of sides. And he's been scoring right. He's probably my best rookie to date. A lot of 70s in there, high 70s, 1 or 2 bad games here. And he just smashed it. Like 103 is kind of what I've been expecting from Stocker to pull out once every now and then. But if you can do that, once every 3 weeks, he's going to be a player that I can really milk out some cash out of. So starting with 216k and he's going up to 356. So that's unreal. Chinkota, solid pick as well. Like he's going to be 300k sooner than what you could blink, really. Such a great pick, and just 70 average in the back line is quite fine considering players like Ridley, who's the other player, Redmond, and players like that just dropping really poor scores. Even Sis this week, people brought him in, and he's got like a 60 odd. So yeah, really happy with that back line at the moment. Day will go back there eventually, and then I'll probably bring in a bit of a pod this week. To be honest, I've got a couple different options. So Stocker will eventually go, but he's my last upgrade. Gimby's still making me a little bit of cash. He's got Gold Coast this week, so I'll hold on to him for 1 more week. His price is probably not going to change. His break even's not too bad actually. It's only a 61, so hopefully he can do something. He just doesn't look like the same rookie that we started with though. Like you can tell he's a bit gassed, and he just has patches. Anyway, that's bench you don't really want to hear about. Bontempelli, 164. He just played a crazy, insane game. I actually thought Green would match it because Green got 3 goals, but you sort of watched the way Bont played, and he does impact it a lot better, even though Green kicked those goals. And Bont last year and years previous, honestly, just gets points for breathing. So It's the reason why I started him, because I hated not owning him and watching him get 10 points just sitting on the bench, basically. I'm being a little bit sarcastic, but any Bont game is always overrated in terms of Supercoach points, and players like that you just got to bring in. And Oliver brought him in. I paid up. I know people were like, yeah, go the value route, and I was going to do that last week, but he's just owned by like 50% of competition. I knew a lot of people would VC him or see him possibly. And I bought him at a decent price. Like if I had waited one week, I would have only, $500 wouldn't have made a difference. But I would have missed that 136 if I had gone for a Sinclair route who scored 99 this week. And I just like his fixture. So I got him for his second best game of the year. So that's definitely a win. He's one I'm happy to pay for, especially how highly owned he is. Well, it's a little bit annoying at the moment because they're playing him, but he's definitely injured somewhat, or like, just not going so well. I think you still got to bring him in at some point, but no rush on him. Like, he's going to go down. Like, the last 2 weeks now, he's been playing a little bit unders for what he is. And Green, glad I held on to him, didn't trade him out, because since that little rest, he's actually got 118 and 135. So love that pick. And I think he's pretty good value for what he is. He's in 32% of size, so he's not a pod that you'd want to go for, because he's not even a pod. But Will Day is a little bit disappointing, to be honest. I know we paid $450K for him, but excuse me, I was actually expecting him to go at least 95 plus in that game, and it didn't exceed my expectations whatsoever. But I think he'll be one of those players that is sort of, eventually I can push him to a D7 M9 sort of swing. So that was always the plan for Day. And Hawthorn, they're going to get smashed. So in those really big smashings, he's not going to score that well, but it just is good for his price, is what I mean. And Hopper turned around 111. See his time on ground if that increased, because that would be interesting if it did. Yeah, okay. He did play a lot more than what I thought he did the other week. So it really comes down to Hopper, is how much time on ground he gets. And he got a fair bit. He set up a lot of goals. We did play West Coast, though, so I don't think he's going to be scoring 111 every week. Ashcroft, super disappointing. I went out Friday night to a bar called Piano Bar in Geelong. So I didn't see this game, but when I got home after a few drinks, I seen a 37, and I was like so annoyed because I don't know what happened to him. But if you click on this fantasy stat, it actually brings up his disposal. So instead of like the week before, getting 28 touches, he only got 13, hence his score there. So this guy, low 20s possessions, scores 70s, but anything under 15 disposals, he's going to go really bad. So something to keep an eye on. I'm going to give him one more week. He does play Essendon, Gold Coast, and Adelaide, and Hawthorn the next 4. So I kind of just want to see where he's at. But I am actually glad I got rid of Setterfield, because he popped out of 70 and he lost like 17 or 18K, so that was the right call. And I bring in Simpson as well, which we'll talk about in a second. Oscar Baker, so hard to watch in that first quarter. Just turned her over, did some stupid things. He even had like this green emoji thing on fan footy. I think it was like a Muppet symbol. And then Holland's sort of disappointing as well. Both these rookies can go this week for me. Break even of 42, which isn't too bad. But I think the Blues always suck midfield points out of opposition, and Hollands can probably go as well against the Dogs. So those two seem to be sometimes hard to score against in midfielders. I don't really rate these guys. They've done their job. They've made enough money. I think it's time for them to go. Simpson, we know, scored pretty much like 60 points at half time because he had those couple goals in his system and then did nothing after that, which is disappointing. But like, he's already gone up a fair bit already, 50K. So you'll take that. And he'll probably kick 3 or 4 goals even against Tigers. Like, we're going to get pumped Friday night, and I expect him to go actually decent. So I'll probably field him if I can. And I reckon his job security is a little bit better than what we'd imagined. So happy with that pick. Johnson to come back next week, hopefully, as well. English and Marshall, 1-2 combo. Don't hate it at all. I freaking love it. And it's the one time sort of going sideways from Darcy to English paid off this week. But overall, I don't think I've really gained any points from doing that move, to be honest, maybe 20. So I kind of regret that decision. But I just didn't want to miss out on 130s every week, and I got rid of Darcy because that split with Jackson, and it hasn't really affected him until this week. Although I think it was actually Hawthorn's ruckman that were actually pretty decent against him in saying that. Marshall 107, ankle injury. I think he plays this week. They did say he could have come back on, but they were just managing him. And Teakle, really disappointing. I was on my way to St Kilda, going to another sort of bar thing called Good Life, Good Life actually. And I'm listening to the Essendon game and Port Adelaide game in the car. And Teakle just sounded like he was getting dominated and by Draper and Phillips. And I thought, I'm hearing him getting the ball turnover. This is not going to be a good score. I get out of the car after I finally got to where I needed to be. And I just look at the score and thinking, 42, I paid up for this guy. I hope he plays this week. I think they've got North Melbourne. And I'm terrified that he's not even going to make me enough money to be a good option. But I thought the roles there, ruckman role, they're going to be averaging minimal 60. They've got to. And he pulls out a 42. So not the greatest move, but if he stays this week, I'll be over the moon because they play North Melbourne. So, yeah, you're probably wondering now, Brad, you told us in your preview you're going to VC Taranto. Now, I was watching the game, they were about to start, and I realised we brought in Dion Prestia and Jack Graham. And I'm like, all the points aren't going to go to Taranto now because those two players are midfielders. The midfield odds are going to be shared in there. Taranto might play a little bit forward, Dimmer was talking about. And, yeah, I barely saw Taranto at the start of the game. I thought, okay, this is a good option. I didn't VC him. So I VC'd Oliver, and I didn't want to be greedy. I was going to captain Bont in the end, but 136 was too good to take, and I just felt like Taranto would probably score me a 118, and then I'd have to roll the dice, and I was really worried that if I did go for a captain, that it would burn me, and, Oliver gets tagged for a 90 or something stupid. So I went the VC route of Oliver because I'm like, I bought him in. This is why I bought the player in anyway, is because I needed like a fourth, fifth captain option who's really reliable every week, and he's probably the most reliable scorer out of all these players. So I went with my gut last minute and changed my VC, and it paid off in the end. And it could have been a little bit better for Bont, but it is what it is. And then Dunkley 149. If you VC'd him, you're an absolute genius because I don't know how people would have really thought about it, to be honest. I mean, like, what's he been really scoring? 108, 117, 108, 133. So you're just a freak if you picked him as a VC. Like, he hasn't even got, he's only got one VC worthy score. So he kind of got out of jail there if you picked the VC for him because he hasn't been showing that scores previously. Like, his last 2 weeks were 109 and 104. So a little bit of a fluke, I think. But, yeah, well done to you if you did. I'm not salty. I'm just very surprised that anyone would have done that against such a side. And then Port Adelaide, this was such a close game. I could hear it in the car. I got 9 out of 9 for my tips. I was hoping they would win. And he's been not too bad, Rosie. So 104, you'll take that. He just plays in a lot of weird positions that you don't think sometimes, though, when you hear him on the radio or watching him on TV. He's down back, and you're like, I just want you in the midfield purely. But still seems to be scoring pretty well. Cogs 79. So I kind of was thinking today in the car, why did he score so bad? And why was he spending so much time forward? And it's because Green was out. It's Toby Green out, and that's why Cogs went forward, because he's the first midfielder that can go forward. So I'm hearing Green's going to miss another week this week. So I think Cogs is in for another pretty mediocre score. But I paid bugger all for him, and he's averaging me about 110 since bringing him in, so I don't really care. But it is concerning because I really need Toby Green in for Cogs to score well. And the Dogs midfield, again, are actually pretty hard to score against. And Gordon didn't get centre bounces, attendances apparently, but still scored a 156, so that's nuts. If you traded him 2 weeks ago, you'd probably feel like an idiot, which is probably a fair assessment. And Radaglia, 88, love that from him. Finally, he'd been pointless on my R2 bench, and that's why I wanted to get Teakle in so I could loop Radaglia's sort of scoring with his fixture coming up. And I'll loop him again against Richmond on Friday night. So that's the team review done. scoring 2-5, 2-2. I love it. And we're just going to be super aggressive and keep upgrading the sides and hope that other people just hold, because I just want to play aggressive and get more premiums than anyone else sooner, because I'm still trying to play catch up. Excuse me. So what I'm thinking to do, had no coughs all day. Now I've just thrown out two. It's annoying. It's like Supercoach God that sneezes. I've just got coughs in me. It's quite annoying. Anyway, so we're gonna have to play budget now. This week we're playing budget, and we're gonna bring in Weddle. We're not gonna go early on Drury. I was only happy to go early on Chikoda because he's the bloke's in his early 20s. He's been in the system for a while in terms of all his VFL. So I felt like he was more safe to run, because why would you recruit a player that age if you're not going to play him? And we're going to bring in Weddle, I think, and unless he gets dropped, then I'll have to go Drury. But I don't want to go near Atkins. We've already seen what you do if you pay, 190 plus for a rookie and they score bad. It just takes one poor score and their cash generation isn't great. But I wasn't going to go Angwin, and I think he's injured now anyway. So that was the right call. But where is Weddle? Oh, he's already there. So I feel like he's going to be a bit of a sideband rookie. Now, if he's named when GF's named, I'm pretty confident in the pick. Now, I've put on a Twitter poll. I'll just check my phone now for who to pick at this price, basically. And it's probably an awkward price for most people, because I think a lot of people are in the same sort of boat for that 530 sort of mark. Clear filters, because the range. Now let's go players I can afford. Now on Twitter, I wrote for a player for 537k. All right, I put on a poll. Also, my Twitter handle is SuperCoachPro91. And the four options I included was Tom Mitchell, Andy Brayshaw, from Freo, Cal Mills, and Jack Steele. Now, 5% have said Mitchell, 35% are saying Brayshaw, 30% say Mills, and 30% say Jack Steele. And this is over 40 votes. So between those three in particular, it's really a 50-50 call. Wow. You know what I mean? With those percentages. So I'm torn. So I don't know what I prefer at those three, in all honesty. Like, I think Brayshaw has a tougher run out of those few options. And it scares me because he played Hawthorn, and that's where he got that 149 from, and anyone can score well against them, no offense. So he's only turned up 3 times, a couple 80s in there and a 98. But his next 4, next 3 in particular, Sydney, Geelong, Melbourne. I don't love that. Scoring history suggests he'll be okay against Sydney, not so great against Geelong, and decent against Melbourne. But he's been carrying a niggle, and it just takes one more knock on that niggle, and then it's sort of injured again, perhaps. So I worry about that. And then you got Mills, and his role is dependent on which Sydney player comes back in. If Stephen comes back to the wing, maybe it's more midfield role. But Horse switches this guy all the time. But his next 3 are Freo, North, and Carlton. And his scores are pretty average too. I mean, he's only turned up once in the last 5 weeks. A couple 80s, a couple 90s, and I don't love that either. Looking at it, I actually prefer Brayshaw over Mills, really. And then there's a couple smokies I probably should mention, but Jack Steele, 95, he spent a lot of time forward, not mad at that. I'm just so scared of his shoulder, man. Like, it definitely worries me, a player that's already got an injury like that. And then the other couple options you're looking at, and these are smokies, maybe a Max Holmes type, and you're probably thinking, why are you even talking about this bloke? But maybe I could look at another video of his CBAs. He's got decent scoring. Like, he's 102 here, 115, 96, 98, 103, 102. Maybe venue, so doesn't really tell you. So, yeah, I'm pretty undecided. So at home, he scores pretty well. He's averaging 100 at home. But he's someone I've considered. And the other smoky, is probably like an LDU, but do you really want to touch LDU? Like his break even is going to be so high now, and you can probably get him for under 500k. His break even is 161. He's got that car. There's something wrong with him, and this is why I was saying to people, why are you bringing him in at some point when he's got niggle injury? You can see he's definitely affected his last 3 games. His minutes are down a little bit, especially the last 2 weeks. So I just feel like you can get him bottom out. He's not someone I want right now. But I have one more option to do. Tell me what you guys think, right? Now, my instinct says Will Powell or Jake Lloyd to play into this side. Now, Will Powell back into defence, taking kick-ins, good fixture. That bye with Geelong and Gold Coast, his scoring is pretty decent. Don't know what this 67's about. I really hate that. Or do you go a guy that you know is going to just average 95 flat, worst case scenario, takes the kick-ins, he's a seagull again this year. And that's Jake Lloyd. Like, he's just turning up week in and week out. His role isn't affected. If I can't afford Dawson, he seems like the Mr. Fix-It kind of guy. And for some reason, my damn internet won't click on this player because he doesn't want – maybe they don't want to show why, but for my pod purposes, he's in 7% of sides. I like Jake Lloyd better than sort of all the picks I've been talking about, but I didn't put that on my poll. Now I can finally access him. Sorry, guys. Internet just having a hard time. Now you're probably like, why Lloyd? And it's purely based on it means I don't have to upgrade my defense once Will Day's back in there. Look, 100, 101, 93, 120, 119, 77, 106, 110. So, and he's got the same fixture as Mills, obviously. So, you know what his role is. You know he's going to be probably top 8 of his line in the back line. And I need a defender. And worst case scenario, I get Dawson as a midfielder. I don't mind that at all. Instead of playing this game, just optimize my trades. Sorry, my bench cover and all that. Field, Sincotta, and Luke Radaglia, because no point in case he has a 40-something. Chuck Roberts on there, if not play Mitchell in the forward line or whatever. Or I could just... I'm really undecided, to be honest with you guys. Move Gimby to the midfield in case he get a wait out. Weddle. So I've got cover in each line. I don't know why it's gone to Roberts. Sometimes does that. But I could roll in something like that, like Sam Simpson, Radaglia as emergency. And then VC, those sort of games, like everyone's going to have to VC an option. And I think it's Stewart for me. If you're not a Stewart owner, you're probably going Taranto as your VC. And for West Coast Gold Coast, maybe bring in Anderson this week. Be a smart idea if you needed to. But no one really has West Coast players either that are the captain or VC worthy, really. So maybe this is the week you target a Tom Stewart or an Anderson, as mentioned, or even a Matt Rao for a sneaky VC, someone like that. Because a lot of people using these 2 players as Whoops, Johnson and Roberts, and the other one is Madden. But, oh, you bastards. Everyone that owns Madden gets a free pick at it. I hate you guys. I hate you guys for running Madden as a Whoop. Anyway, that's the side. It's a bit of a longer video, but I explained the players a little bit more than what I should with some of the bench options. So that is the team video. Just going to play aggressive from here on out. I'll probably do a video with Steve today or tomorrow, something like that, and then I'll do a Thursday preview because I'm doing a road trip over the weekend, so I probably won't see too much footy, unfortunately, for the first time in a long time. So. If you got any comments, leave them in there and I'll reply to all of them. I'm going to Muay Thai tonight, so that will absolutely bugger me out. So enjoy your night and catch you on the next one. Hopefully you guys have a good night. Cheers.